This is TWiT.
It's time to talk about Meta versus Apple and how Meta may be getting things right, at least as it currently stands. Joining us to talk about this very topic is Victoria Song of The Verge. Hello, Victoria.
Hey, what's up?
Hi there. So let's get right into this article. First and foremost, this is about Meta and its AR, VR offerings, and that, of course, includes the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses. So for folks who might not know about that, can you tell us about the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses? What features and functionality do they offer, and how much do they cost, so we can kind of compare it to something as expensive as the Apple Vision Pro?
Right. So the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses are the company's second attempt at making smart glasses. They're sort of like the Snapchat spectacles, but instead of two cameras, they only have one. And the big difference this time around with those smart glasses is that they actually take good video and picture quality, whereas the first version, the Ray-Ban Stories, not so much, right? There's also some beta AI features in there where you can take a picture with your smart glasses and have the AI tell you what it is. So, like, you don't know what it is, take a picture with your smart glasses, it tells you what it is. Those are in beta. And they also act as a pair of open ear headphones. So you can listen to your music, you can listen to your podcast while you're on the go, which is pretty cool. And it's, the price varies depending on your prescription because these are glasses. But if you were just to get a base pair, it's about $300.
Okay. So with that in mind, let's talk about what the experience is like. In your piece, you compare Meta's smart glasses and Quest headsets to the Apple Vision Pro headsets, and they are very different. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the reason why I was comparing these things is because, the world of AR, the world of smart glasses like you see with Tony Stark and all these great characters that we see in science fiction is not here yet. We don't have the tech to do that yet. There's a lot of problems that we have to solve with ambient lighting, computing power, getting everything really small. So that's not here yet. But in order for that world to be our world, these companies have to sell us on the idea of an AR future. We're going to have to want it. They have to prime the general population for this concept. And so you have Meta on the one hand, where they're focusing on gadgets that are relatively affordable. I'm going to say relatively affordable, that you can do stuff with now. And then you have Apple with the Vision Pro, which at $3,500, that's quite an investment for a lot of people. And there's actually not a whole lot you can do with it at the moment, but the technology and the hardware is super, it's Apple, right? So it's super premium. They're doing the whole Apple thing where, like, we're going to come in, we're going to do the best. You're going to trust us because we're Apple. We made the iPhone. Like, two very different strategies about how to get people to view this future where everything has technology overlaid in it and how we interact with our reality changes.
Now, Mark Zuckerberg, which of course we have to bear in mind that it is Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, and founder of Facebook. Zuckerberg did his own review of the Apple Vision Pro. Can you tell our listeners who may not have seen that review or didn't have the time to watch that review a little bit about what Zuckerberg had to say about the Apple Vision Pro in comparison with Meta's offerings? Well,
as you might expect Mark Zuckerberg to say, he says the Meta Quest 3 is by far the best option for most people. And, he very clearly emphasized that it's 7 times cheaper, which, it is 7 times cheaper. But he also, was emphasizing the fact that they've been at the game longer. They thought a lot about the type of ergonomics, about making it lightweight, not having a battery pack dangling off somewhere behind you, and the fact that you can actually do more within the system at the current point in time, particularly games, right? So like the Meta Quest 3, I think a lot of people associate it with gaming, but that is one very, popular use case for the headset. Whereas with the Vision Pro, I don't think we really know how it's intended to be used or intended to be thought about just yet. Apple says spatial computing, but people are starting to return their Vision Pro sets. So do we know what we want to use the Vision Pro for? I would argue that I think people are a little confused as to what the value add is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I saw that you published a piece about that as well, the return of the Vision Pro headset. And we're going to talk a little bit about kind of where you see these things stand. Actually, this is the next question. People used to think it was goofy to wear AirPods, as you note in your article. And that's not so much the case any longer. In some cases, it's kind of seen as I don't know if it's a status symbol, but it's just like a normal aspect of everyday life. Google Glass, however, never really reached that level of normalcy, and people who were wearing it really stood out. And so people stopped wearing it, and then Google Glass did not take off. But when I think about Ray-Ban glasses that just have these little tiny camera adornments, those don't really stand out. And your argument in this piece is that kind of Meta is meeting people where they are right now. So I'm curious, as someone who's been paying attention to wearables for so long, how much of a role do you think that form factor plays in the success of these devices?
Hugely important. It is probably the most important thing when it comes to wearables. And I've been screaming at this for the past decade now. Companies take note, but no one is going to use your wearable device if it's not comfortable to wear. And we're seeing that right now with the Vision Pro, right? By and large, most people that I've talked to, the reason why they're returning it is that it's just not comfortable to wear for long periods of time. It's very front loaded, so it can be quite heavy. And the other thing about wearables is that it's very hard to scale at mass production levels, because my face is different from your face. My fingers are different sizes than your fingers. My wrists are a different size. So when it comes to technology that we wear on the body, it's very hard to just come up with like 3 standard sizes that fits everyone perfectly. There's always going to be like maybe 5 to 10% of people who these devices are not comfortable for. So actually form factor is huge. Sunglasses are a very easy thing to do compared to a huge honkin' headset. That's one reason why smartwatches have taken off too, is because, you just change the band size. It's a lot easier to kind of adapt to different people. And also we have cultural cues for sunglasses. When you put a sunglasses on, it's very familiar to you. It's not alienating. You don't look like you walked out of some sci-fi movie. You put the Vision Pro on, you walk down the street. Maybe in New York City, no one's going to look at you because it's New York and nobody cares. But, I would feel uncomfortable wearing that in public, right? I'm not going to necessarily wear that on public transit because I'm afraid. I have the memory of what happened to people wearing Google Glass in public. And I mean, you look at the Google Glass design, you kind of look like Vegeta with a scouter on your head versus the Ray-Bans, which, we know what Ray-Bans are. Ray-Bans have this cultural capital of being cool. So form factor, hugely important when it comes to wearables. And I think some companies are a little more concerned with like what the future will be versus where we're at now. And that's something I think these companies, as they're building these future with AR, they really need to think where people are at now. Right.
You talk about we talked earlier about the functionality, right, of the Ray-Ban Meta glasses or Meta Ray-Ban glasses, Meta's smart glasses that are Ray-Bans. And you spoke about the functionality. I am kind of curious to hear, how are people actually using them? What is the use case for them in day-to-day life? What does it look like? I guess, how are people taking advantage of the technology that they have as opposed to, because oftentimes, like the Apple Watch, like some of the products that have existed for a while, what they were originally intended to do and how they've changed over time, it informs how a company thinks about that product too going forward. And this being kind of the second iteration of smart glasses from Meta, how have you seen people using them? And I know it's even close and personal for you with these glasses.
Yeah, my husband is like obsessed with them. And here's the thing, right? So The obvious use case for these Meta Ray-Bans is content creators. And we now live in a world where there's a ton of content creators, where people are filming their own TikToks, they're vlogging. This is a great tool for that, especially if you want to make a cooking video. You just put the camera on and your hands are free to make a video. It's your POV vision. My husband loves driving and taking driving videos. You know, before he had to strap a GoPro to his head, and you look pretty funny if you strap a GoPro to your head, right?
Yes.
So with these, he's like, honey, these are a game changer. He turns on the camera and he can drive and get some really cool footage from inside a car that's a lot safer than having a heavy GoPro on your head or using your phone. So that's one obvious use case. And you can actually go straight from the glasses to live streaming on Instagram. So for a certain subsect of people, which is an increasingly large subsect of people who love content creation, these glasses are an amazing tool and they actually solve a problem. And then there's, some other people who are like, okay, whatever, I don't really care about having a camera. They're very discreet, stylish headphones. So you can wear them on your walks when you're out and about. You can take calls in them. The microphone is really great because it's right in your nose. It's better than some headphones. In our testing, we found, it sounds really great. So you're just wearing them. You can take your calls. You can go on a walk. You can be a little more hands-free. So it's slotting very easily into the life that you live now. You don't have to find necessarily use cases to use them. Whereas I think some people are really struggling to know what to do with the Vision Pro. Like, no one is arguing that the tech is amazing. It's truly amazing and it's innovative. But what are you going to do with it in the life that you lead now? Right. So that's really kind of where this whole conversation is going.
For sure. My last question for you, when we look at the Quest 3 and Apple Vision Pro, those headsets and others from Meta attempt to offer both visual augmented and visual virtual reality experiences. Meta's smart glasses, on the other hand, are more audio augmented reality. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, which XR experience do you think makes sense for most people in the short term? And then how do you think, I know it's a prediction, so we don't know for sure, but from your experience, how do you think, what do you think rather will be the one that wins out in the long term?
Ooh, I have no idea which one's going to win out in the long term, but, I think there's a real appetite for some mixed reality experiences. We'll just have to see how the huge population at large feels about it. Because really, people who have experienced a headset, it's in our world, in the tech world, we probably know a bunch of people, but in the general population, does your mom know how to use it? Is she familiar with that? That kind of level is hard to say, but everyone knows how to use headphones, right? So I think in the short term, audio augmented reality makes a lot of sense because we already talk to Siri, we already talk to Assistant, we already talk to Alexa. So it's very familiar to us. It's not something we have to learn. It's not like social cues that we have to process in our heads. Bose tried it. There wasn't a whole lot of interest in it because they were trying to do things with an app system, so that whole thing went away. But, Meta is really invested in it. They found a use case for it. So as far as getting the average person to kind of conceptualize what any type of mixed reality would be, interacting tech with their gadgets and the real world, I really do think the Ray-Ban Meta glasses are probably the most relatable product on the market. It's very low tech, but sometimes you need to take baby steps. You need to get the low tech out into the public so that they see the vision, right? It's that's kind of where my head's at with it.
Absolutely. Victoria Song, I want to thank you so much for your insights today. This was a great piece. And of course, folks can head to The Verge to check out your work. But is there any place they can go online to follow you to keep up with what you're doing?
My handle is @VicMSong on all the platforms because we have no idea what's going to replace Twitter. I mean, X, whatever we want to call it. That's just my handle on everything. So you can find me Instagram, Blue Sky, not Blue Sky, but Threads, all those places.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for watching this little chunk of Tech News Weekly. If you'd like to get the full episode, well, head over to twit.tv/TNW. There you'll find buttons you can click or tap to subscribe to the entire show in audio and video formats. Or just look in the description. We've got links down there as well.